This is an older video called No One Actually Cares About Graphics. Here's why. And I thought it would be interesting to take a look at because I do think there is a large focus on graphics when in reality, the most important thing is absolutely gameplay. It is from Vex. It is about 5 months old now. Let's watch it.
Like, what game is this?
Immortals.
Start over.
Whoa, dude, those are some amazing graphics, and the trailer just looks insane. Like, what game is this?
Immortals of Avium.
What?
Immortals.
What?
It's Immortals of Avium.
So this game actually reviewed well, but it just didn't translate to good gameplay. I was a little surprised to see the discrepancy in reviews and sales. Sorry, didn't translate to sales is what I meant, not gameplay. Yeah, it is what it is.
Bro, I had never heard of that.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't know about this game because the visuals in these trailers did not sell people on it. It actually only peaked at 751.
What? I mean, it's Steam charts, but that's insane. Like, so Suicide Squad's peak was like 16K. The fact that this game peaked at 751, that's nuts. That is like disastrous. Even if that's just Steam numbers, that is very low.
Players on Steam were playing this game that is published by
EA Sports. It's in the game.
It's possible that it's a little bit bigger on console, but
Well, like, I gotta be honest though. You look at these graphics, I actually don't think they look that hot. I think it's kind of a lot going on.
regardless, it hasn't done that well. And it doesn't help when this game feels like a glorified tech demo for Unreal Engine 5.
This is the first.
Like, just looking at it, I think the weaponry is sort of, I mean, maybe it works. I don't know, man. I don't find it particularly. I had no interest in playing it. There was nothing about the marketing for Immortals of Avium that did anything from me, not the intro trailer. I didn't think the intro trailer was cool, but I get the point that they're making, that this game flopped spectacularly.
Third-party Unreal Engine 5 game using all of the big new features. We've got Nanite, Lumen, Virtual Shadow.
I mean, a lot of the content that was on YouTube was literally just talking about how this game ran and if your PC could keep up with it, but not actually playing the game. Quintessential example of AAA gaming in 2023. If you exclude all of the battle passes and item shops and stuff like that. They put the man himself in Fortnite. But if you're not convinced of this, then I'm gonna show you a few more examples. What about this game, which also boasted incredible graphical technology and the fastest loading times in any game on PC because of direct storage? New technology coming to PC for the first time. Like,
You know, I think that people are interested in the technology and things that happen, but he is right. It doesn't translate into sales. That's why, I keep bringing up Spider-Man 2. They invested like an additional $100 million or something crazy amount of money over Miles Morales. And it did not result in drastically higher profit margins for Sony, which is unfortunately part of the reason that they're probably doing layoffs. Like, it was still successful, but it wasn't successful enough for Sony. And that's the insanity. I think Nintendo kind of has a pretty good idea of their profit margins on all their games. So they just keep going with that. And it's been good enough for them for years, as more people are gaming than ever before. So more people are buying games, which means you're selling more games and you're making more profit. And they seem fine with that. But other companies is like, it's not good enough.
woo, that would surely sell you on the game. But do I really need to tell you guys why Forspoken didn't pop off?
Okay, so let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call Earth. I'm seeing
I previewed Forspoken, and I did not hate Forspoken as much. But when all the negativity came, like everybody hated this game, and there were other things to play, so I'm just like, I'm not gonna go play the full one. I should go play the full one and see if I actually hated it as much as everybody else. But I thought the combat was somewhat interesting, like the move set. I've heard you can turn off the annoying banter between her and her cuff, which a lot of people felt was grating. But yeah.
Freaking dragons. And, oh yeah, I'm talking to a cop.
For this game, built in Unreal Engine 4, it graphically looks really good and actually ran very well, in contrast to a lot of other games that are coming out right now. The gameplay was great, right? I definitely didn't buy this game for the robot girls. Nah, I would never do that. Other than that, an Atomic Heart, where was the substance? Where was the gameplay and things to explore? Didn't feel that in this game. We also watch as Nvidia puts yet another ray tracing feature into Cyberpunk, the game that they use for all of their testing Frankenstein creations, which can't even run half of the features that they advertise in Cyberpunk, without rendering the game internally at 240p and only actually generating half of the frames realistically. When I first wrote this, I was skeptical of Cyberpunk 2.0 and Phantom Liberty, but I now know that a lot of people are enjoying it, and I might have to check it out for myself. Tell me this.
Yeah, Cyberpunk's actually very good, and there's been a lot of mods for it that make it look phenomenal. I saw somebody that modded it to make it look sort of like on record, which is basically real life. So yeah, I think Cyberpunk might be kind of a bad example because it did end up improving over time.
Are we supposed to play games or watch them? Nobody really gives a about graphics. The best selling game of all time is Minecraft. Why are we complaining about graphics so much? It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
And I know a lot of people are going to be sitting there saying, actually, Unreal Engine ruined gaming. It's all Unreal Engine's fault for making games too difficult to run and focusing too much on graphics. All right, if y'all Unreal Engine haters are going to say that, I want you to try and actually say it with a straight face. When you see this rendered in real time, and try to say that this technology was a genuine mistake. And I don't think anyone out here is actually complaining about how freaking Valorant looks and runs. Valorant is made in Unreal Engine 4.
But there's really good looking games made in Unreal that have done very well, that look great, that have sold well, that meet all the tenets. So I wouldn't argue that Unreal makes a game bad. I think that's the point that he's trying to make, actually. I think he's arguing that 4K native 60 frames per second, people say that they want that, but it's not actually what they want. They just want a good game at the end of the day. And I do think that gets a little bit lost in a lot of the conversations that you see online, because people go online and they brag about, oh, look, this is rendering at a native resolution of this. And here's the Digital Foundry video that we used to make that point. And to me, I started the series performance reviews over at IGN. Michael largely handles them now. But I find that stuff very interesting, and I like to talk about it, and I like to analyze these games and talk about the performance of these games. But at the end of the day, the heart of what matters the most to a game is the gameplay. Returnal is one of my favorite games that I have played in the last several years, and it runs at a native resolution of, get this, 1080p. It's upscaled to 4K, and it kind of gives it an interesting look, according to the developers. That's what they were going for, and I love it. I absolutely love that game. So I do agree. Graphics at the end of the day do not matter. You can have beautiful looking games, but having graphics, it's important, but not the most important thing.
It runs like a dream. Sea of Thieves was made in Unreal Engine 4, has a unique art style, and is a fun game. Borderlands 3, also a unique art style, made in Unreal Engine 4. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think people love the art style of this game, also made and Unreal Engine 4. Unreal Engine is only a tool. And
Yep.
Unreal Engine itself continues to get better and better. They just released 5.3. Literally, it's amazing, guys. This technology is incredible. It genuinely relies on the ones that actually are making the games to make good games.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Absolutely agree. I agree with this wholeheartedly. Like, the games have to be good. That's all that matters. So like a lot of people end up focusing on graphics too much where there's like no gameplay elements. And I think that's sort of problematic and why people are thinking or feeling burnt. I actually don't think Immortals of Avium is a great example because I don't think the gameplay is good. I like that he's like, well, look, it's not just about that because there can be gorgeous looking games with great gameplay, but some people have sort of lost focus of that, I think is the point that the
crazy concept
creator's trying to make.
And there is a huge difference between graphics and art style. You don't necessarily need the most insane technical masterpiece graphics or the raw horsepower to make a game stand out and achieve the vision that it's trying to get out.
Yep.
I still love how the original Dishonored game looks to this day. That game has grit. It makes you feel like a badass. And Dishonored was made in Unreal Engine 3, guys.
Yeah.
Risk of Rain 2 is also a gorgeous game with an amazing art style that makes the game clear until you get to the end game and things become chaos. And it's relatively easy to run on a lot of systems. It makes it accessible to more people. Baldur's Gate 3, a recent release,
see?
actually isn't that
This guy gets it.
graphically insane, but it does look good and has a nice style to the game. But Baldur's Gate 3 is also very fun.
A hand?
But outside of games and other media like movies, Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse that just came out recently have been shaking up the animation industry because of how tightly intertwined the visuals are of the movies with the characters, the story, and the style. Like literally in this scene, the entire environment changes the colors to match the mood. It's
Very good example. It's about pure artistic vision, and in gameplay that means the artistic vision of the cutscenes, of the overall product, of the gameplay elements. It all meshes well together, and sometimes it just feels like I've heard this phrase before, games made by committee. And what happens is everybody's trying to get all these ideas to work together, and it doesn't, and it just doesn't. And I think that's what's happening. That's my hot take on it.
insane. It's beautiful. And I've never seen a piece of media that is so in sync with itself. What really seems to be lacking in games recently is the passion. It's like the soul.
I wouldn't say it's passion. I would say it's direction. There's a lot of games, and this is a 5-month-old video, but you can see what is happening right now. The AAA space just keeps shooting themselves in the foot. Not Sea of Thieves. Skull and Bones finally came out, kind of a dud. Suicide Squad comes out, it's a dud. There's more examples that some people have mentioned recently that I'm slipping my mind at the moment. But there's a lot of great games, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great stuff coming out from a lot of AAA studios. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff coming out that just feels weird. And it's just sort of missing the mark. And I don't know why it's happening more frequently. Maybe it's because there's just more games coming out. So we are paying a bit more attention to the bad
Has
ones.
been ripped right out of them. Do I need to mention that 2 of the biggest game releases this year on PC at least have literally just been remasters? Resident Evil 4, a remaster. Yeah, it was good. And arguably, The
great.
Last of Us Part 1 remastered on PC. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm glad we have Last of Us on PC now. But arguably, since they changed the graphics of Last of Us, it lost some of its artistic style that the original game had. And what genuinely makes us want to play Forspoken or Immortals of Avium? Like, where is the substance? Where is the content? Where is the creativity in these games that make them unique and make us actually want to spend our money and invest our time into these things?
There's a lot of problems with Forspoken. I think the gameplay is fine, maybe even good. It's just basically a Devil May Cry combat system where they're trying to sort of do that with it, and you can switch between the different sort of powers as you get further in. It just, it's more the characters, I think, in the game that a lot of people had issue with, and it just didn't resonate with people in the way that they had hoped. That studio's gone now, so you'll never get another one like it.
I know the build up to Starfield, which just released. I was, watching the trailers and stuff, and I was genuinely like, was I the only person that thought this? What are we excited for Starfield about? And when AMD went on stage at Gamescom and they talked about, are you excited for Starfield?
Who's looking forward to Starfield? Come on, right? Yeah.
And I was like, why should we be excited for Starfield? Okay, all gamers, this is the game that we are telling you all to collectively lose your minds over right now with all of the marketing that we're doing for it. It's like we're all a bunch of zombies running around chasing the next funny monkey thing that claps. What was in these trailers that genuinely got people excited? Don't get me wrong here, if you like Bethesda games, and from what I've seen, and I've played maybe like 4 to 5 hours of the game, I'm not that far in, then you'll probably be happy with how Starfield is. Although, there,
a lot of people love Starfield. Dan over at IGN gave it a 7 out of 10, and he got roasted for months about that. And it turns out a lot of people agree with him now. Now that they've played through the whole game, they're like, yes, there's still people that absolutely adore Starfield. I'm on the more positive side for it, but there's a lot of people out there that are like, yeah, this is just another Bethesda game.
there's so many people online that are complaining about graphics and performance, and I genuinely think people wouldn't be complaining about these things in Starfield if the game was genuinely that good. In the end of it, games are meant to be played.
Yep.
Not looked at. But every game nowadays, especially...
Well, he talks about Baldur's Gate 3, and he seems to try to take away from the graphical element of it. I think Baldur's Gate 3 looks really, really good, especially when you compare it to some of the other games. Like, if you compare Baldur's Gate 3 to Forspoken, like, Forspoken has other problems. It's not really the visuals that are the problem with Forspoken, because performance-wise, it's, like, fine. It's more like the storytelling elements and such. Baldur's Gate 3 looks really, really good. The gameplay is really fun. It really, really stuck with its vision of what it wanted to be and delivered a phenomenal experience. So Baldur's Gate 3 is phenomenal, but I don't think pretending like it looks bad or something like that, I just don't think that's correct. I think it still looks really, really good. So I feel like that is sort of a weird example, because I actually do think Baldur's Gate 3 looks good.
especially from AAA studios.
But performance-wise, sorry to jump back to it, performance-wise, Baldur's Gate 3 had a ton of issues. So again, it's an RPG. That's not what people are looking for. And there's definitely a mismatch between what people online are saying that they want, what devs are thinking that they want, and then they try and deliver that. And they're just like forgetting the heart of what people really, really want to do. And that's just play great games that they fall in love with, and they fall in love with all of the little elements. Because if a game is good enough, you can forgive those performance issues. You can forgive the problems with it, right? Like, look at Skyrim. Skyrim had tons of bugs in it, and it's beloved. I think the problem with Starfield is it just didn't modernize the engine enough. So like a lot of it's like the loading screens people didn't really like. A lot of the areas felt similar, and I think people were a little fatigued by that. But for me, like, Fallout 3 is one of my favorite games. Like, it's not that big of a deal for me, but I think that's really what people had a challenge with Starfield. Just feeling like things were a little too empty or a little too slowly paced.
Has to be a visual spectacle. And this trend of games having to look realer than real life is a trend.
I don't think this looks good. I don't think Immortals of Avium looks good. I don't think there was a narrative about it looking good or being particularly impressive beyond the marketing that was trying to say it. I honestly didn't hear anything about Immortals of Avium. Really.
And that needs to end. It has no place in making games more fun. But the way they're spending their money on graphical technology really might just be because they want to make cool looking trailers. And I don't really know, and I don't really care. Because, for example, Baldur's Gate 3, I don't think really had any expectations going into the game.
No.
I mean, apparently, I wasn't really playing games in 2004, but the last Baldur's Gate game that we've seen was apparently Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 in 2004. You know, regardless of the expectations that are set up for it, Baldur's Gate 3 is going absolutely crazy. It's because what we actually want to see is being put out there. And indie games seem to have success after success because they're just fun.
Yeah, and even more true today. You know, Helldivers, Pal World, amazing games can be made by like one person now, which is, it's just crazy to think, right? And I think more and more people are looking at PC games because that's where things usually start. Like if you're one dev, you're probably going to target something like Steam first and then go from there. Yeah, I've been kind of looking into it. I need to figure out a concept, but I know enough about Unreal and messing around in game engines and things like that I kind of want to like make a little thing just to say I can do it. And that's the thing. The people who are doing that, I'm not saying my game's going to be great. Who knows? Like I'm a dad with 2 kids. Who knows if I'm actually going to get time to do that? But the point I'm trying to make is there are so many success stories about very small developers who have pure vision and their goals like very clearly aligned. And then gamers resonate with that so well. Helldivers is like 100 people. Power World is like a very small team who knew nothing about game design. Last Epoch, like a fraction of the budget and a fraction of the team size of Path of Exile or even Diablo 4. So seeing those successes is very, very heartening. And AAA needs to like figure some stuff out.
$1.
Broke ass.
It doesn't really matter about the latest graphics when an indie developer, maybe even a solo team, can make a game.
It's so crazy. He's literally saying what I'm saying like a second after I say it.
Game that's more fun than the AAA studios can put out. Oh no, you're moving it up here. No. And that's saying something. That is a bad state for the gaming market. And I really hope that this...
But that's Vampire Survivors. It's an amazing game.
Focus on graphics is really just teething pains as we ease into this new era of technology and game development. Once they are more experienced with all of this tech, they could hopefully flex their creativity. I can't guarantee that. And hopefully games like Baldur's Gate 3 are gonna put pressure on the industry to change.
Yep.
And really focus on the fundamentals of what makes a game a freaking game, not a show, not a movie. All in all, I just want to have fun and exciting
Portal.
games. Dude, wait. Okay, we both have to go up there. We have to hit each other in the middle.
Yes, I was about to say, what if we
That's
both have to line?
crazy. Are you lined up?
Mm-hmm. Ow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know about you. I'm assuming if you want the best for gaming, you probably want the same thing. But let me know what you think. If you have any differing opinions on this, I'm happy to hear them in the comments. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video, and peace out.
What a great video. I really, really like that. Like, you know, I don't mean to sound critical every time I watch these. I just feel like some of the points were like not meshing well together, but I get exactly where Vex here is coming from. Go subscribe to Vex. What other content? Like, I keep getting recommended these videos because I started doing these reacts, and it's just like opened my eyes to all of these awesome channels. So I'll link you to Vex in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell if you're watching already. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to the members for supporting this channel. We've talked about what's going on in the industry lately. It stinks. So thank you so much to all the members who support me for doing my little YouTube thing. If you want to support, you do so by clicking that join button. I'm going to get out of here. Check out my previous reacts right here, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.